I'm Jim Leach, and I'm coming to you today from Tennessee Underground's YouTube TV channel. We're going to talk for a minute about police reform, if that's okay with you. We got things going on up in Minneapolis, which is where the defund the police movement, I guess, started following the death of George Floyd. We got some. They're trying to make some amendments to the city charter up there in regards to the police department. A judge ruled, I think he handed the ruling down Tuesday morning, which is yesterday morning. Today, we're about noontime Central Standard Time on Wednesday, okay? The judge says this. He says the proposed amendment is too vague. He said, look, an average person can't read this and tell if they want to eliminate the police department altogether or if they're trying to eliminate the chief of police. And if they're going to have a police department and a chief, how are they going to fund it? This charter that you've drawn up doesn't address any of these issues. Now, it was prepared by a group called Yes for Minneapolis, which is what you see at the bottom of my little chart here. How did we get here? Okay, they drew up this charter amendment back in, I think that they started preparing it some time ago. And the proposal is to create a department, possibly have some police officers involved, but it's bent toward mental health treatment, drug treatment, and things of that nature. Now, one of the bad things is, or in my opinion, if you're looking at mental health treatment and helping people get off drugs, that's good. I'm for it. I'm for it. You also need the police. You got to have police. Folks, I'm sorry, but there is a segment of our population, if there aren't sanctions for doing bad things, they're going to do bad things. Now, you can just accept it or not. I'm telling you what it is. Minneapolis, they got fewer police now than they did when all this started, and they got more crime, and that's not the only city in the United States that's suffering from that. The police chief said this. The chief of police has done a great job of standing mute on this and trying to run his police department, stay out of the politics, but he finally had all he could. He said, talking about this new man, he said, it's not just confusing. It would be a wholly unbearable position for any law enforcement leader or police chief. And I have to agree with the chief. Part of this amendment to the city charter says that the police department will be run by a committee of 13 people plus the mayor. That's 13 people on the city council. That's a city council, and they all got their different political views. There's different views on social justice, on law enforcement. So you gather up your 13 best friends, and you're probably going to have similar views on things. Try to find out, get all 13 to agree on where you're going to drink a cup of coffee. Hard to do. Too many people. You can't be governed by committee. The chief can report to the mayor, and the mayor can report to the city council on budgets and funding and all of this. It's pretty good. Let me read you this, okay? What happened, they sent, as I told you from when we started, they sent up the suggestion for an amendment to the charter. The judge came back and said, it's too vague. Now, they got rushed up. They called a special session of the city council yesterday afternoon, Tuesday afternoon, because they got they're under a time frame here. They got to get this thing done and get it to the printer and get it on the ballot. Okay, if they're going to move. Here's what the charter says. I'm reading this to you, okay, from the newspaper up there. Shall the Minneapolis City Charter be amended to eliminate, that's the word, the police department and replace it with a Department of Public Safety that employs a comprehensive public health approach to the delivery of functions by the Department of Public Safety, with those specific functions to be determined by the mayor and city council by ordinance, which will not be subject to exclusive mayoral power over its establishment. As you might think, the mayor opposes this bill. It takes the power away from him. It's not, it says it right there. Okay. Which will not be subject to exclusive mayoral power over its establishment. Okay. Maintenance and command. In other words, it won't be subject to the mayor's power over its establishment, maintenance, and command. We're trying to rule by committee, rule the police department by committee. Somebody's got to be responsible, folks. That's just, and somebody's got to be able to say yes or no. Which would include licensed peace officers, which in parentheses got that police officers, peace officers, but that's a lot of times using in Tennessee where I am. They say peace officers a lot of time in written stuff instead of police officers. Okay, which the charter says it would include licensed peace officers if necessary. If necessary, who makes that decision whether they're necessary or not? 13 people plus the mayor. Okay, to fulfill its responsibilities for public safety, with the general nature of the amendments being briefly indicated in the explanatory note below, which is made a part of this ballot. Okay, here's where they go and explain what they just wrote. Okay, what I just read you. Here it says, explanatory note. This amendment would create a Department of Public Safety combining public safety functions through a comprehensive public health approach to be determined by the mayor and council. The department would be led, this is the new department now, that it says may include licensed peace officers. It didn't say it would, it said may. Which would be led by a commissioner who is nominated by the mayor and appointed by the council. The head of the department would be nominated by the mayor and appointed by the council. Okay. The police department and its chief would be removed from the city charter. Made that pretty plain, didn't he? The police department and its chief would be removed from the city charter. The public safety department could include police officers, but the minimum funding requirement would be eliminated. Okay, the minimum funding requirement says, and this is not peculiar to Minneapolis, this is a lot of places. It says when the population reaches this level, we're going to have this many police officers. We're going to fund this many police officers. I think it's a pretty sensible way to look at things. Okay, they're doing away with that. Now the attorney goes on and says that the new ballot language may violate the court injunction. The judge said it's too vague. Spell it out. And all the attorney's doing his job. He said, look, I hope the judge will take this, but it may not be as precise as he wants it, so he may not accept this. He may come back and hold the city and county both in contempt. I don't know. So we're going to see. Like I say, this all happened. This came in last night. The final edition of the charter here that they're proposing, and today is just noontime the next day. So we haven't heard. We don't know if the judge has looked at it yet. Probably won't really. But once again, my understanding from what I'm reading in the paper, that they've got to get this ballot printed pretty quick to get it on the ballot to be voted on. Folks, it's dangerous. People are trying to slip things in once again where folks won't realize what's going on. It's happening left and right. We'll keep up with this and with other things. We have not been reporting on police reform much. We decided to sit back and see what happened for a few months. And so now actions are starting to be taken. Some of the things that were being talked about out of knee-jerk reactions early on are no longer being mentioned. You don't hear anything about them. So we'll see what's going on. One problem that we have, I used to see this in the drug business when we were enforcing the drug law. I lived through the war on drugs, whatever. We always, in our society, I think we want to see a solution. We look for the solution. Well, most problems, there's not the solution. And violence in our society is something that we've got to address from every angle we can. Work on mental health, work on drugs, work on mentoring. We've got mentoring. I'm a big fan of mentoring because these young people, when they see certain individuals in their community driving nice cars and always got money on their hip and do what they want to do, and they got a lot of charisma about them, looks good to a kid. And that kid knows where that money's coming from, folks. And we don't need for those people to be the role models to these children. We got to stand up. The silent minority needs to get vocal. We need to stand up, keep the police. Simple fact, the fewer police we have, the more crime we're going to have, folks. Next time you see an officer, please tell them you appreciate them. They will appreciate that very much. I'm Jim Leach. Until next time, please be safe.